Um, Wanted to just take time to say thank you from joining us to this particular broadcast. I wanted to talk to you about solutions to our people problem, especially in America. I want to get right into it because we're seeing all these things taking place in the states, and we see it and we know what's happening, but at the same time, we don't see a lot of solutions coming forth, to deal with it. Want to also take time to welcome Dr. Shani Chantil Johnson. She's in the studio with us also. How you
Welcome.
doing, Doctor? Can you
How you
hear me?
doing?
Hi,
Hi.
Hey, how you doing?
good. How are
Great
you?
doctor. I'm wonderful. Great doctor. This is Yadir King in the studio with us, and Dr. Shani Chantil Johnson. What I'd like you to do is Yadir, introduce yourself, and then Dr. Shani, introduce yourself.
Okay, I'm Yadia King. Originally grew up in Israel, but I've been living in the States over 22 years and just looking to bring enlightenment to our people. Nice to meet you.
Good.
Nice to meet you.
You also lived in Africa for a period of time, right?
Oh, yeah, Africa, U.S., been through Europe, South America. Yeah, so
Mhm.
all around the world traveler. Yeah.
Okay, good. We're gonna need that. We're gonna need that later on in the discussion. Doctor, introduce yourself for us, please.
Hi, I'm Shantia Johnson. I'm a doctor of Oriental medicine, and I live
Oh,
here in the
wow.
United States. Um,
Hmm.
Born in DC, raised in Miami,
Hmm.
and
Good, good,
Yes, that's really good. Yeah.
great, great. I wanted to I want to welcome both of you all from joining us to this particular broadcast. Wanted to talk about solutions to our people problems in America because I don't want to talk about what's going on, what's happening because everybody is very, very knowledgeable of what's happening. But the thing that I don't hear are solutions, concrete, viable solutions, things that we haven't done before. We voted all the way up to we had voted up on a black president, not one term, two term, 8 years. We had a black president. So how did that work out for us? Then, we don't protest to ain't nothing else to protest. I turned 60 this month, the 24th, and I was out there, protesting as a young boy. And I remember, the riots and being out there with my mother. And so, we done voted, we done protest, prayed, our mothers and relatives and what have you. We done prayed till we prayed our lips off. We've been waiting on Jesus, a savior, or somebody to show up to do something for us. And it's obviously they don't have the ways, the GPS or something, because it seems like they just can't find black folks. And we still going through the same stuff with these people that don't like us. So for us hollering and screaming, we done did that till we got hoarse. We done marched
Yeah.
till ain't no more roads to march on. And so we continue to do the same thing, but I'm not interested in doing the same thing because I don't want to be labeled as insane because you do the same thing over and over again, expecting a different results. That's what they say, you insane. So let's do something different. And the simple solution that I want to talk about and present is simply putting distance between those that hate you. It's just that simple. Why continue to be around and in the midst of those individuals that have shown themselves not for a long time, but for hundreds of years? They don't really care about us. Now, putting a distance can be in several different ways. We've had people to talk about, getting out of America. And we've got a lot of brothers and sisters that have actually left America and they went to different places of Europe, different places of Africa, the Caribbeans, all different places. And most of them, the majority of them, have nothing but positive results after getting out of America. They talk about the peace. They talk about the lack of stress. They talk about the police not being afraid of the police. Even here in Israel, I'm not afraid of the police when I see the police show up. So I wanted to just, get y'all thoughts. It don't have to be anything. We just want to talk about the possibility of making distance between us and those that don't like us in America. Some of your thoughts, Doctor. Let me start with you because I know you're at work and you probably have a patient, and I don't want to, take up too much of the time. So you're talking about putting distance between those that have shown themselves and not really care about Black people, Nubian people of color, and talking about a solution of separating ourselves from them, those people. Well, what are your thoughts, Doctor, on that?
Well, I mean, it doesn't seem practical because, first of all, we've already intermarried, intermingled. I have family that's, Caucasian. It's like, how do you separate from your own
Mm-hmm.
family? And what do children do? What make
Mm-hmm.
children?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really see that being a really good solution because, I mean, I know some really good people that are, European. That's not the solution.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's not the
Mm-hmm.
same. I mean, you got good white people, you got good Black people, you got good people that's, mixed. You got a few that's, terrible. They recognize it, they
Mm-hmm.
know it. I don't know. But to separate, what are we gonna separate to?
I mean, it's been different places that a lot of our people have gone to, Africa, Europe, the Caribbeans. I know some brothers and sisters living in Russia. What's the name of the place? Not Moscow, but Saint Petersburg, Saint Petersburg, Russia. So it's different places.
So you're talking about separate from the American races.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Not saying that uh, other countries are not, but the concentrated intensity that we're experiencing, at the realms that we hear, it's not, absolutely everywhere, but it's too much. I've talked with a lot of our people, family members, and what have you. So I was looking at that because I noticed that over the years, even history through research, that we were always better off when we were with each other. And so the reason why I wanted to talk about it is just like to hear these different positions and thoughts, just like you presented. We have a lot of interracial relationships and children and everything, and so if that be the option that some people choose, that's their choice. But then just like you saying, but it one thing, it has to begin a dialogue, something, what I'm saying, different than what we've been doing to begin to get a better life. Our people talk about, making things better, we better, we have some that believe that, some believe America could be a better place, some that don't. So my thing is like, okay, if you are at the point where you're looking around for something different and you trying to figure out what to do, and like people say, I'm tired of this shit, you just don't know what to do, then let's
Well,
discuss doing something different.
so, I look at, for instance, the Seminoles. I know a lot of Seminoles here, and they live on reservations, but their
Hmm.
reservations don't look like, you know, any different from any community. It's a community, but they're all Seminoles,
Hmm.
and they are pretty much unified in they all live together, and
Hmm.
they have their differences with things, but pretty much they all Seminoles. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Hmm.
So when you talk about in the past where um, we when we were separate, we we were more how do you say unified as people because of the separation,
Hmm.
right? But that's because we were in a racist situation. Like that was like really segregated, civil we had to fight for civil rights and stuff just to be recognized as human beings. Now it's a different type of situation where we need to be unified financially and, with each other, with everything that we do as far as support. How do we get that together first? Because it's one thing to say we all leave America, but we still not unified. So we still might end up in the same situation. So
Hmm.
like we need to look within and figure out who we are. That's the thing. We don't have identity as who we are. And so once until we know who we are as a people and we can recognize that we are one and then this is what we are. I don't know. It's very difficult to say, okay, unify.
Hmm.
It's a very difficult situation when your land language culture has been erased. Nobody knows who they are. We have to
Hmm.
go to ancestry or one of these things and say, okay, and let them tell us who we are. Our elders don't tell us who we are. I can't get nothing out of my people, like, as to, my grandmother passed away. She's the only one that told me, you guys were native, you were Blackfeet tribe, da da da. Who
Hmm.
knows? I still can't even get the documentation or proof or anything about who I am because nobody
Hmm.
knows the history. It's like no communication. We're not being taught who we are. So it's just creating a worse situation. We're getting
Well,
stupider
one
and
thing,
stupider.
yeah, I agree. I agree with you that totally. One thing is you talking about being educated of our of self, and that's very important. Now when I talk about separating from those that have proven to not like us, I don't I don't mean everybody. When I say we, I'm not talking about everybody. I'm talking about those that have that same type of mindset because we know everybody, all black people or Nubian or color, whatever they want to call themselves, they didn't come from Africa because we know the history that, when that European stepped up on that land, it was 59 million beautiful, chocolate, delicious people already there. From Maine to Miami, they called on the eastern seaboard. They were already there in that land. And so, we understand that. And I understand that when I'm talking about separating, from those people, then we talking about those individuals that have that same mindset. And the reason why I'm even talking about it is to get those various thoughts, just like you're saying. Okay. And this really going to be based upon a knowledge and an education as to the who, what, when, where, and why. Most of those, I'm sure that every one of those brothers and sisters that have left America and went to places like in Africa, it was based upon something they know. They didn't just like poof, let's do this. All of them have stories of, just like what you're saying, they did in the ancestry or they knowledge or somewhere along the line is something that they know that caused them to say, okay, let's do this. Let's go over here and let's do this. But that's a good point. And your deal, great
Yeah,
sister, your deal. What do
yeah.
you have to say? What do you have to say about this topic that we're talking about here? Separating
Well,
ourselves.
you know, being uh, a child and taken to Liberia for 2.5 years, brought back to the States, then living in Israel for over 20 years, um, going to Africa, back to Israel, to Europe, all I see in my experiences is there's a God force. There's a creative force that watches over us. And a lot of us grew up purposely miseducated or not educated about who we really are. But growing up, Let's say I grew up believing I was one thing all along, but coming into this reality, I realized that we are way more than we believe ourselves to be, and it's all within our imagination and what we see ourselves to be. Everything around us is imagination and creation. But when we're talking about separation, I think separation is in energy, black, white, purple, green, red, because I've seen and I go downtown Chicago a lot, and the people who hold up the American system the most is black people. People who protect the system the most is black people. People who protect people being killed every day is black people. If you go and you look in the whole governmental system, we literally carry out like at least 80% of the job. There are not a lot of white people in the world. I'm not going to agree with that. I've been like summer everywhere. And it's only certain places where they have a couple pockets of white people, but there are not as much brown and black people. So some tells me that there's been some traders amongst black people who've been selling us stuff since the beginning of time because they wanted things in one way and other black people wanted things in another. So there's no way that a whole person with a whole nother color could come into a community and just rip it apart if there wasn't anybody black in agreement with those people in the other community. So to tell the truth, like I've seen in the Hebrew Israelite community and so many different camps, Muslim, everything, there's always some traitors. Always some traitors. We're in a situation because right now there are black people, brown people, Indian, Arab, you name it, all colors. They're not white. So let's get off the color white and let's get on the principle of wrong and right. And wrong is those people who support the principles of suppressing all other people, whether they black or any other kind of people. And I believe that whatever color person the creator put in my path to help me or extend my knowledge, that's who I'm going with. I don't necessarily like white people, black people, brown people, Chinese people, Indian people. No people, I don't like them. I like white people, principled people, people who stand on something. And when you talk about separation, I will separate myself with anybody who carry the righteous principles of life as far as preserving us as beings, spiritual beings. You know what I'm saying? All this could have never
Mhm.
happened if black people never sold each other out. All this could have never went forth if we had been faithful to a color. But color don't mean absolutely nothing because you're seeing everybody do everything to every culture. And they just put us on the forefront so they could keep everybody looking down on us and keep us believing who we are not because we are the strongest within all races. But it takes the strong to help the weak to keep us suppressed. And there are black people holding us down and keeping us all suppressed. That's what I believe. Especially if the world's 80, 90% colored and 10% white. And can't nobody argue that it's not. I don't care if the internet say whatever. I've been some everywhere. And it is way more brown, blacks, and any other color than it is white. So I think we need to recheck our perspective on principle and not color.
Doctor, I see you shaking your head in agreement. What can you add with that?
No, I like that. I think he's 100%. I agree.
Yep, me too. And so that separation will have to take place amongst those with the like-minded,
That's
that think
right.
the same. I remember I heard about the group bought. I don't know where it's at now, but the last I heard, they was purchasing some land in Georgia to build a community for all, black people. I don't know where that's at, whether they've done it or what. I know that they was having some problem from those that didn't agree with it, but nevertheless, you know, I've always believed in family being together with family, and just like the point that you're all making, times has changed, and it's not just black and white anymore. You know, it's I like that thought. That right people, good people, and that's absolutely true. I'm not a hater of people because they white. I've had a lot of great experiences with people from other races, even white people. to say the least. I'm not embarrassed or shy to say that I've had a lot of great experience with white people and people from other races. My thing is those that have shown themselves to really be some buttholes, getting away from them. That's the point I'm talking about. And so um when we get into a system, a area, situation where we have better control, it's like right now down in South Africa, there are 400 villages and townships and areas that white people have established for themselves, white only, in South Africa, a black country. Black folks can go in there and clean up and work or whatever, but for that sun drop, you got to bounce. And they control that. I mean, I like that idea. I like that concept. You control your environment. So if you have those individuals that want to do something like that, yay. You know, I'm you know, I'm bringing this discussion out because we can begin to toss around different unorthodox options that we've never presented before. Because we keep doing the same thing and over. And then when a brother gets shot or something happened, we want to protest and go out and hit the streets again. And then what do? They get him paid vacation. They say, paid administration leave. Those type of things, affect everybody. And so, if it be that, okay, we're not getting what we need through the legislative process, people vote and vote and vote, vote and political. Right now, it's more African American walking around DC supposed to be representing all different type of whatever. There's more black people in DC. I had that, verified. There's more black people in DC than any other race of people in America. Hispanics, Jews, Russians, you name it. And this is how we have to be as a people. So solution, separation is definitely has a lot of positive points about it. But at the same time, just like you all brought out, am I actually talking about separating according to the color or separating according to the spirit, and these type discussion has to come forth because everything began with one. A journey of 1,000 miles began with the first step. So tonight, just by talking about this, to begin to go into other thoughts and ideas and concept, to really make some changes. Now everybody and a lot of people heard about Tulsa, Oklahoma. When they was having a 100-year celebration of Tulsa, Oklahoma, one sister, she stated, man, I didn't know nothing about Tulsa until I was 40 years old. And it's like, wow, really? Some people, I mean, they're working real hard to bury this dirt that they've done to us. Mm-hmm. And a lot of our people just honestly don't know. Don't make them bad people. They just don't. I mean, if nobody told you or you didn't read it or find it out or they made it hard for you to know about it, then how you going to know about it? And sister said, man, Tulsa, Oklahoma, I ain't heard nothing about that at 40 years old. Because they know that if we learn what they've done and what we've been through as a people, man. Okay, y'all can hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, the internet clown, both of y'all dropped out. But anyway, that process, educating ourselves, just like you were saying, Doctor, that's very key. That was a good point. The knowledge of self and why you need to do these things. That's a real good point. We have to get on that a lot stronger. We had to delve deep into that and continue to be able to share information of who we are. A lot of people are doing it. A lot of people are talking about it now, on the internet and different places. A lot of good things are coming out about who we are as a people. I remember hearing about this white boy that made this book of black inventions. I mean, it was thick as the Chicago phone, the old, well, I can't say that now in 2021 because they don't make phone directories no more. Everything is on your phone. But back in the day, the Chicago phone directory was several inches thick, you know. And so this boy made a book, Black Inventions. And when he finished doing the research, the book was hundreds of pages of all these things that black folks have done throughout the years of being in America that we don't even know. All these inventions, even the sisters that was the computers for the NASA program. I didn't know nothing about that till I saw the movie Hidden. What was it? Hidden
Hidden
Secret,
figures. Hidden figures.
Hidden Figure, Hidden
Yeah, I didn't
Figures.
know either.
And so I'm like, sisters, and then you see the part where before the astronaut walked on that spacecraft, he called to find out which one of those sisters did the calculation of reentry. Because he knew that it was so critical that if you came in too steep, you'll burn up. If you came too shallow, you'll bounce off the atmosphere and shoot out in space. So the calculation had to be exact. And the only one that he trusts was them sisters. And see, these type things, they ain't never wanted us to know as a people because that build a whole lot of self-esteem, self-worth, and
Yeah,
self-value and pride.
yeah,
And so you just keep beating down on brothers and sisters about, you know, uh, making us brothers look like we just something to be feared and making the sisters seem like they just, want to just shake their booties all the time and act a fool. That don't build a lot of self-esteem. And so the educational portion of who we are, that's critical. Got to put that information out. So y'all have any more points you'd like to bring out?
um,
No.
when it comes to our brothers and our sisters, this is so critical to me. And I don't just mean this like with black or white or any other color. This is just a stand we all need to pay attention to. Everybody wants something that they are not. Everybody want to fix something that they have not fixed within themselves. And it's like in a relationship. People be like, oh, I want a supermodel. And then they look at themselves and they don't look like a supermodel. That's a problem. You see what I'm saying? So, as a people of consciousness, we need to work on who we are in order to create a better atmosphere of what we'll become. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's the biggest problems when we're dealing with any issue within this life, white, black, whatever. All of that racism and stuff come from their lack of and insecurity of. And all of our insecurity come from what we believe we lack. And it's like we're definitely way more than we believe we are as beings. But we've been programmed to become a system that push each other down and be God figures over each other, which makes us go no further. Um, just as individuals, we cannot grow that way. You know what I'm saying? Whether police shooting people or, black people protesting or whatever, whatever, whatever. It's all stemming from a system of insecurities on both parts and somebody wanting to be bigger and better and orchestrate whatever, but there's no such thing. Like a government is somebody that's meant to govern. Nobody can govern anybody. Everybody needs to acquire self-discipline and learn how to govern themselves. So that's just my point, and is we can all learn something from having self-discipline and learning to accept who we are and our truth. Then everybody else won't be such a problem to each person. And attention to everything else, usually take attention from who we are within ourselves. So
Mm-hmm.
that's how I add.
You know what that would remind me of when you was talking about, learning, how to, self-discipline and things like that. It
Mm-hmm.
reminds me of how China and Vietnam came up. China, the emperor of China looked out and saw how his people was nothing, just vagabonds. China wasn't about diddly squat, not even registered on the map in the world. They just out there, China. And so what he did, he said, we got to change this. So he went to the artists and those that make, artwork, pictures and music and what have you, all of the artists and craftsmen, and commissioned them to create artwork and craft, uplifting the Chinese culture, uplifting the Chinese culture. I remember when the Chinese used to be depicted as some big buck teeth, ponytail, walk around on blocks, and so the emperor, he changed all that because he began to have them create artwork uplifting Chinese in order to get the Chinese to be more motivated and proud of being Chinese. So, in other words, he had to sell the Chinese on the Chinese, and he did that. And then he stopped all external uh, uh, communication and other countries coming in, and he focused on the Chinese culture and uplifting the Chinese. Then he sent a lot of the brightest children to different countries around the world to study certain things, engineer and whatnot, and come back. And when they came back, they weren't out just to fend for themselves to find a job. He centered the government around them, supporting them, and then they began to work. The next thing, he went to them and told them, look, if you all will work and let us control the money for the next 10 years, we'll be good. The company take care of you. And they did. And now you see where China at today. The other person that did that was Mao Zedong in Vietnam. Okay. He did the same thing. He had to sell the Vietnamese on the Vietnamese. So he pushed the Vietnamese culture, the Vietnamese, really, really pushed the Vietnamese. And now you see Vietnam don't have their hand out for nothing. But that type move, it takes time.
Mm-hmm.
And the really unbelievable thing about how these two nations came up, the two emperors, two rulers of those nations got that from Marcus Garvey. That was Garveyism that those two leaders used on their country to bring them out of the dust and put them on the world stage. Garveyism, a brother that was trying to get our people out of America into Africa back in the day. And not one person got on the boat, but these other men took the knowledge and used it and pulled their country up. And so, just like you were saying, Doc, that, this is going to have to be a learning, an educational process. And another point that I wanted to bring out is that when you have things to look at, to see, like, for instance, the European world, they got building, they got planes in the sky, they got ships on the water, they got houses and mansions and cars and businesses and all kind of stuff going on. These white people got that. They're in control of the world. So when they have children and someone they want to bring up, it's easy for them to get on board because they can see what they got. Okay, their father got this business, their uncle got that business, their cousin, their brother, they got something magnificent that they can hold on to that the white people is controlling. But then our people, what do we have that we can show the next generation or either other brothers and sisters? This is what we're fighting for. This is why we got to fight. Well, we got most of the conversation. We got some smart brothers and sisters with a whole lot of money. We got some individuals that did well, billionaires. But I'm talking about as a people, What is it that we have that we could point to and show our next generation or either other brothers and sisters, this is why we need to fight. This is what we need to hold on to. You follow what I'm saying? It's a difference. It's a difference. Like when I read that book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, it was two different fathers, one rich, one working. And they both had two totally different concepts of life, living, money, and all of that. And so for our people for the past several hundred years, all we had was a hope and a dream and a good damn conversation. And so it'd be hard, just like you were saying, a lot of our own people have traded us out, turned us up, and helped work for those that don't have our best interests at hand. Why would they do that? Because what do they see that they need to stick with the brother and sister for? All the stuff is over here. He got it. And so what he does, he said, okay, I give you, dust, and dust if you do this for me. And then the individual sitting there thinking, shit, man, I mean, just like they showed on the movie with the Panthers, the brother run around lying, faking that he was a FBI agent, and they caught him and turned him into one of their informants. So the point is that when those of us that have the vision and the inspiration, we have to build something so magnificent that our people will get motivated to get dedicated and loyal to help continue its growth and development. Just like those two dudes using Garveyism to develop their countries and bring their countries out the dust. Black folks got nice houses, and a lot of black folks got, jobs and money and stuff like that. But a nation of brothers and sisters. I mean, when we look across Africa, we see a lot of successful African brothers and sisters. But I think you kind of get the idea of what I'm talking about. When you go to Washington, D.C., you see all white people running around there. You see the white folks running it, holding everything. So it's easy to get their people on board because they see why they need to do this. But then when it comes to us, man, we got a hope, a dream, and a bunch of good conversation as a people. Then when we do start trying to get something together, it again, just like you said, shit, it be us that destroy us. We don't even give them a chance to get into our butts before we do it to ourselves. So I really appreciate you all taking the time to come in and lay out those points. It was very, very profound. I really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to do it again. We're going to be getting into these discussion more because it's like, okay, we done said this, so what do we do now? Do we just hear this, go back to our lives? But now I'm going to come back again, and we got to embellish it. What I'm going to do is find that book that this boy put together with all these black inventions and, present that. I'm going to do that research and find that book. And so, Doctor, I appreciate you coming on. Great sister, great love for you. Sister Yadil, appreciate you coming on. I hope we can get back together again and take it a little further, okay?
Absolutely.
Okay, love y'all pure.
All right, thanks. Love you.
All right, and have a good time. Shalom, shalom.
Shalom, shalom.